Coming up next, we're going to go behind the top 10 songs of this very same week from the year 1986, 35 years ago. Once again, we're going to re-rank all these songs based on their performance or all-time performance since their peak. We have some really cool artist interviews. In this chart, we have one of the most unlikely number ones of the decade, as well as the biggest hit of 1987, battling it out. See who's number one, as well as a couple of songs that didn't even make the top 10 that years later have been massive. Find out what's the real number one song next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. Make sure to subscribe below right now to be a part of our Music History Daily, straight from the artist. And, to become an honorary producer, check out our Patreon. You can click on the link in the description. And we have our brand new Vintage Years collection out right now. You voted on it. 1991, 1981, and 1967. You're going to love these. So it's time for another edition of our show, the hit song Redux. This is where we travel back to a week in the golden era of rock and roll, and we re-rank the top 10 songs of that specific week based on their legacy since their peak position on the Billboard Hot 100. We have actual artists commenting on the songs. We have your memories, your dedications. This program is a love letter to Casey Kasem's American Top 40, which we all grew up with. This time we're going to travel back to this exact week in December of 1986. This week it's anybody's game. Now, before we get into the top 10, to get us in that potent nostalgic mood, we're going to go into the top movies of the box office. That week, you had The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy is the chosen one.
Three Amigos with Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and Martin Short.
Let's ride!
The Three Amigos.
And Steven Spielberg's An American Tale.
The first animated feature film presented by Steven Spielberg.
On the boob tube, you had great duos like David and Maddie battling it out on Moonlighting.
There is the sun and moon.
Gosh, I love that show. And Balky and Larry on Perfect Strangers. You also had Pee Wee Herman on Saturday mornings with Pee Wee's Playhouse. What a time.
Pee Wee's Playhouse.
I miss it. So let's get into it. Coming in at number 10, the oldest song on the countdown. It went to number 4 on the Hot 100 and number 1 on the R&B charts, clear back in 1961. It was released in 86 due to its use in a film starring River Phoenix, Will Wheaton, Corey Feldman, and Kiefer Sutherland. It's Stand By Me by Benny King.
When the night has come.
Now, Benny King recorded the song just after he left the legendary singing group The Drifters.
The boardwalk, out of the sun. Under the boardwalk.
Started off his solo career with a blaze. It was written by King, along with Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, all using the pseudonym Elmo Glick. The song title was inspired actually by a spiritual written by Sam Cooke and J.W. Alexander called Stand By Me, Father, recorded by the Soul Stirrers with Johnny Taylor singing lead.
Stand by, stand by.
It also came from a desire to update the early 20th century gospel hymn of the same name by Charles Albert Tinley, which was based around the psalm, "Will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea." Director Rob Reiner, the director of Stand By Me, he ran into co-writer Mike Stoller at a party, and he talked him into playing many of his classic songs while Rob Reiner sang along.
Stand by me.
Months after that, Reiner had the idea of using Stand By Me in his adaptation of Stephen King's novella, The Body. This song is one of the most lucrative of the rock and roll era, with royalties estimated to have topped almost $23 million.
Darling, stand by me. Oh.
Coming in at number 9, we have an 80s jam that you might have forgotten about. It was a number 1 hit on both the pop charts and the soul charts. It's Gregory Abbott with Shake You Down.
I wanna shake you down. I wanna rock you down.
Shake You Down is a phrase that Abbott came up with that he thought expressed the way a man feels when he sees an attractive woman. You know, girl, I want to shake you down. He tried the phrase out on a female friend, and when she responded positively, he named the song after that, what he was writing.
I can't stop thinking of the things we do, the way you call me baby when I'm holding you.
After he made a demo, he got his uncle to share it with some folks at Charles Koppelman's production group, the entertainment company, and he signed a solo deal with Columbia Records. A little known fact about this particular song is that it received 1 million US radio plays faster than any other record in history at that point. Sure, it was due to its strong cross-format appeal. And this is a song that I have so many great memories of. My dad used to impersonate that talking part.
And you know, it's funny, every time I get to feeling this way.
You know, whenever it would come on the radio and he'd do this funny dance, just takes me right back to 86 and early 87. And it's been quite popular since then, garnering 108 million streams.
You know you did.
So sliding over to the number 8 spot, it's a song from the leading instigator of the second British invasion, with a song that would get all the way to number 2 and then stop. Duran Duran with Notorious, the lead single from their album of the same name.
Notorious.
You know, this was a turning point for Duran Duran after dominating MTV and the pop charts for most of the first half of the 80s.
Her name is Rio and she dances on the...
They fell apart as their success ripped them up. Simon Le Bon explained at the time, "We have been forced by our own desire for success into a stereotype of a teen idol group. We were spending far more time worrying about clothes, makeup, and photo sessions than we were about writing songs." Gotta remember, this was a new streamlined version of the band. Andy Taylor and Roger Taylor, they'd left the band when the single dropped. Actually, the acrimonious nature of Andy Taylor's departure was referenced in this song. As Simon Le Bon has pointed out, the lyric, "Who really gives a damn for a flaky bandit?" This song has generated about 20 million streams since its peak. So at the number 7 slot this week in 86, we have a man who wore a whiplash smile. The former frontman of punk outfit Generation X, it's Billy Idol with "To Be a Lover." Now, this song was a cover originally written by William Bell and Booker T. Jones, actually.
Oh, I forgot to be your lover.
Here's what Billy Idol's guitarist Steve Stevens said about this hit.
And I was always unsure about it. I didn't quite get it. It wasn't until Billy's vocal went on it.
You see, I'm so sorry.
And then they kind of added some of the keyboard things and the organ and the piano. You know, that's one of those things you have to put your trust in the people you're working with, because I didn't know what the end result would be. Whereas everything else that we usually worked on, I could hear in my head what we were shooting for. So I just had to trust Keith and Billy, and then obviously the finished version of the song, speaks for itself.
The hit song Redux is sponsored by Zenni Eyewear, the frames that I wear on the daily. If you're ready for a style upgrade, whether you wear prescription glasses, sunglasses, whatever, Zenni.com is definitely the way to go. Cost effective and undeniably cool. I've got 15 pair and I love every single one of them. Go check it out at Zenni.com today. All right, so coming in at the number 6 position, it's the first major hit by a band that would take the nation by storm in 86 going into 87. And the lead singer would go from sweeping floors in Jersey to selling out stadiums. It's Bon Jovi with "You Give Love a Bad Name." John Bon Jovi, Desmond Child, and Richie Sambora wrote this in the basement of Sambora's mother's house in New Jersey. It was Desmond Child who came up with the title, and then John Bon Jovi came up with that legendary first line, "Shot through the heart." From there, they put the rest of the song together as "Shot Through the Heart" was the working title, as I understand it, for a little while. Around this time, John Bon Jovi was dating actress Diane Lane, and there are a lot of rumors going around. I remember at the time that the song was written about her. It's not certain, though. Actually, it's been said that "You Give Love a Bad Name" was originally written for Bonnie Tyler under the title "If You Were a Woman and I Was a Man," with completely different lyrics. But then Desmond Child rewrote it with Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora. This was a very popular song with our viewers, of course. I mean, Bon Jovi's so massive. Our viewer screen name Dinsdale Piranha 67 said that during his last 2 years of high school, Bon Jovi was everywhere. And he would give his buddy a hard time for loving their music as he was into thrash metal and punk. But he said that after 30 years, he digs Bon Jovi and even sings this song when it comes on the radio. Viewer Lewis Becker said that "You Give Love a Bad Name" is the ringtone his wife has on her phone to let her know right away that it's him calling. He laughs and says that they've been married for 32 years and counting. I'm going to dedicate that to your wife from you, Lewis. Very cool. Another one of our viewers shared a really funny story from high school. They said, and I quote, "I remember being on a bus heading out to an 8th grade field trip, and the teacher, chaperone loudly announced that, 'Hey, we're halfway there.' And some kids shout saying, 'Of course, the whole bus chimed in and sang the rest of the song at the top of our lungs. And then we went straight into "You Give Love a Bad Name." I really love that. Well, halfway to number one, at number 5, we have a song that's chorus had the band's name in it. And it became a catchphrase that is indelibly tied to the decade of the 80s. It's "Everybody Have Fun Tonight" by Wang Chung. This is another song that got all the way to number 2, but didn't make it up that final step, even though it's still huge in today's pop culture. I had a chance to talk with Jack Hughes and Nick Feldman, the duo behind Wang Chung. This is what they said about it.
I come up with this sort of chorus, "Everybody Have Fun Tonight." Jack had ad-libbed "Everybody Wang Chung Tonight," just one of the choruses. It was just throwaway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so Peter Wolf was like, "Everybody have fun tonight, everybody Wang Chung tonight." That's brilliant. Rewrite the song and make it faster and just, So that's what we did.
This is another one that our viewers loved. They shared memories of this song. Screen name BG Rising said, and I quote, "When I was in foster care, when Everybody Have Fun Tonight came out, we used to go roller skating every weekend. And over the course of a few weeks, we created a sort of skating dance to it that involved 5 or 6 of us all in a single file line, with strange animated arm movements, skate stomping to the beat, and lots of cheers throughout the song. By the end of my time in this foster home, we would have the entirety of the rink in line with us, and it would be one awesome time." Definitely the 80s, right? Our viewer, Maureen Jackson, said that back in 86 or 87, private radio was just starting in Germany, and one station, RSH, had Wang Chung in their 15-song starter loop. He said, "I recorded it with my new tape deck, as many other songs too. Still remember this time in the songs. It was a happy time for me. I was 12, and the song always brings me back a bit to this happy feeling." At the number 4 position, we have one of my personal favorite duets of the 1980s. It was from a former frontman of a multi-platinum classic band. This was after he took his solo Karate Kid 2 song to number 1 a few months earlier, along with a singer who at that time was primarily known as a Christian artist. It's "The Next Time I Fall" from Peter Cetera and Amy Grant.
The next time I fall in love, it will be with you.
This song would actually end up being a number 1 hit. Like I said, Amy Grant was pretty much unknown at the time outside of the Christian music scene. Now, songwriter Bobby Caldwell, a friend of Cetera's, offered this song to him, and Cetera decided to record it as a duet instead of a solo song.
Put my heart upon the shelf.
He thought it would work best with a young vocalist who, wasn't a massive star. Amy Grant was suggested to him. He had some reservations, but he knew that she possessed a great voice, so he went with it. So Bobby Caldwell, the songwriter, he admitted that he wrote the song specifically for Chicago, thinking that, Peter Cetera would sing it in Chicago. And then he heard that Peter was leaving the band, and he thought his chance had passed. But then Cetera ended up hearing a demo of it in David Foster's office, and he wanted to do it, so it all worked out. I love the way that Peter Cetera and Amy Grant blend in this song. This is one of those duets that you either love it or you're lying about it. It's just so great. Coming in at number 3, it's the man and his band. We're coming off of 2 massive number 1 albums. He had the number 1 movie hit of the year before. Both of his number 1 albums had to do with athletics, sports, and 4. It's Huey Lewis and the News with Hip to Be Square. So I had a chance to talk to Huey about this, and this is what he said about it.
The song was meant to articulate an 80s phenomenon that the David Brooks's book, Bobos in Paradise, articulated. People, bourgeois bohemians, bobos, bourgeois bohemians, people who grew up in Bohemia in the 60s, if you will, but it got too scary for them. And now they're older and they're dropping back in, cutting their hair and they're exercising. It's hip to be square.
It's hip to be square. It's hip to be square.
Hip to Be Square has been streamed just under 90 million times since its release. No doubt some of that is due to Patrick Bateman's rousing social commentary about this song and the band in the film American Psycho.
Their most accomplished album. I think their undisputed masterpiece is Hip to Be Square.
So we're one song away from the top of the heap. And at number 2 is a song that would keep going and be crowned as the biggest hit of the following year. And it would become a defining fad of the late 80s. And the dance moves are still being mimicked decades later. It's the Bangles with Walk Like an Egyptian.
Walk like an Egyptian.
Songwriter Liam Sternberg implied that he was inspired to create this song while he was on a ferry crossing the English Channel. When the vessel came into some choppy water, passengers, stepped carefully and moved their arms awkwardly while struggling to keep their balance. And that reminded Sternberg of the depiction of human figures in ancient Egyptian tomb paintings. Right then and there, he wrote the words, Walk Like an Egyptian, in a notebook.
Walk like an Egyptian.
Truthfully, when I saw this music video as a kid, and Susanna Hoff sang the 3rd verse, and then she goes into the chorus, and she moves her eyes from the left to the right, and then to the left again.
Walk like an Egyptian.
This boy became a man. As Garth would say,
She makes me feel kind of funny, like when we used to climb the rope in gym class.
I'd call this the sexiest moment in music video history. For me, it was. Susanna Hoff's amazing. The Bangles are so underappreciated, too. I love them. Always have, always will. I mean, Eternal Flame is as close as anyone got in the 80s to writing a perfectly Beatles-esque love song. It's just so rad. Our viewers love them too. In fact, many men said the same thing that I did. This video made them realize that they were heterosexual, as one viewer put it.
When the buzzer rings, they're walking like an Egyptian.
Our viewer Bill Caroli said a friend used Walk Like an Egyptian whenever he got mail from AOL. This was not long after it was released, so he wants to dedicate this song to his friend Dirk. Sure, every time he hears the ding for the email, he thinks of that song. Many viewers have memories of loved ones doing the dance, including M. Douglas Miller, whose little sister did it in a skit for a kindergarten class. And viewer George Charlton remembers his daughter walking around the house singing and dancing to it as well. Dan LeBach reminisced about his whole family doing the dance at a family cookout while others filmed it. Now, one of my favorite stories comes from screen name KT Harrell 1. I hope I said that right. She said, and I quote, "It was the summer between 3rd and 4th grade. The first time I ever spent a summer away from my parents. I went to spend that time with my sister in Michigan. Cherry 7-Up had just come out. Cherry 7-Up, can't get enough. Isn't it so cool? And my sister had just bought a Honda CRX with a sunroof. We were cruising along and Walk Like an Egyptian came on the radio. That's a memory I go back to often. My parents are gone. Us brothers and sisters don't keep in touch as much as we should. But for that one moment, the Bangles singing a song that would never be allowed to be released today. And that Cherry 7-Up, riding along with my sister, life was perfect." I totally remember the summer that Cherry 7-Up came out. KT's memory took me back to the 80s for sure when I read that. Very cool. Okay, it's that time. Time to unveil the #1 song for this very same week in 86. Drum roll, please. It was one of the most unlikely #1 hits of the decade. It was a serious song with an important message from an artist who doesn't really get his due as one of the great American voices. It's a song with one of really the most familiar piano lines of the 80s. Talking about Bruce Hornsby and The Range with the socially conscious hit, The Way It Is.
That's just the way it is.
Bruce Hornsby is one of my favorite artists ever. I mean, I remember buying his album the day it came out every time. That's how much I loved him. This song really speaks directly to racial injustice and the ever-growing chasm between the have and have-nots.
Said, hey, little boy, you can't go where the others go.
Hornsby said about the song, I quote, "My mother came from the New England area and she was a little more enlightened about racial subjects than a lot of people in the South. So I had a different attitude to a lot of my friends. When I was brought up, the vibe I got of Martin Luther King in my town was that he was a real evil man. Just the vibe in the air, and it was terrible. And if you grow up in that environment, you can't help but be affected by it a little bit. Luckily, I came from a family that guarded us against that." End of quote. Bruce wrote a great song that is as relevant today as it was then. I had a chance to interview Bruce Hornsby, and he related his feelings about breaking out on this first album. Here it is.
That whole first record is sort of about us trying to create our version of the band. Yes. Robbie Robertson, Levon Helm, Danko, yep. Manuel, Garth Hudson.
Okay, before we do our Redux and share the new top 10, we're going to do top 10 this time, based on all-time views. Let's look at some of the great songs that didn't ever make the top 10 that were in the countdown that week and see how they figure into the all-time Redux for this week. You actually had Toto with a fantastic love song, I'll Be Over You. That would eventually peak at number 11. I'll be over you. Just missed the top 10. You also had Carly Simon with the heart-wrenching ballad Coming Around Again, one of my favorite songs ever. Fall apart, there's more room in a broken heart. Which would barely peak in the top 20, even though I think it was one of the best songs of the year. It was the theme to the movie Heartburn with Jack Nicholson and Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep.
I'm a vicious person.
Jack Nicholson.
Anyone who's been through a devastating breakup of a marriage or a deep relationship knows the anguish that this song defines. There's also Cars co-frontman Rick Ocasek's solo hit, Emotion, Emotion. Love that song. Emotion. That would only get to number 15. And the absolutely underappreciated hard rock band Cinderella with Nobody's Fool, which hit number 13. You also had Journey with one of their best hidden gems, I'll Be Alright Without You. One of the best Steve Perry and Neil Schon vocal guitar duos of that year. So with these songs as contenders alongside the top 10 that we just covered, we're going to put them through our Redux formula. So here is your new top 10 based on all-time views. There are some shakeups. So at number 10, The Next Time I Fall by Peter Cetera and Amy Grant was 67 million streams. At number 9, you have Hip to Be Square by Huey Lewis and the News, 87 million streams. At number 8, Shake You Down by Gregory Abbott with 108 million. At number 7, it's Carly Simon with Coming Around Again, a life-changing song that deserves a top 10. I love it. At number 6, Nobody's Fool by Cinderella. Yes, I love this song. It's been 123 million streams, and it finds its way into the top 10 all of these years later. People love it. They should. At number 5, The Way It Is by Bruce Hornsby and the Range. It falls out of the number 1 spot. And at number 4, it's Toto with the breathtaking love song, I'll Be Over You. Man, it's so cool. This song has almost 200 million views and streams decades after it missed the top 10 in '86. At number 3, you have Walk Like an Egyptian by the Bangles with 300 million streams.
Walk like an Egyptian.
Coming in at number 2, Stand By Me from Ben E. King.
When the night has come.
It's got an amazing 1.6 billion streams. All right, here's your new number 1 song. 2 billion Bon Jovi streams can't be wrong. It's You Give Love a Bad Name by the Jersey Rockers. So there it is. It's the new top 10 from the week, this very same week, December 13th, 1986, based on all-time streams. So how would you rank all of these songs? Share your memories of these songs and celebrate them by getting a Vintage Years Collection t-shirt below. Celebrate all great music from the great years. Now, if we didn't get to your dedication or your memory, we will. Share it with us in the comments. If you like our content, we do invite you to subscribe so that you can get our content daily. Check us out on Patreon. Check out our merch, ProfessorOfRock.com. Help us keep the music alive. That's why we do it. Till next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.